It's happening.
Oh no, not again.
Hey guys, Ralph here from the Endgame Investor, and silver is anywhere between 60 and 90. Who knows? It changes by $3, $4 every minute now, and you're not going to know where it is, or I'm not going to know where it is by the time this thing is published. By the time you're seeing it, it's going to be extremely volatile. And the first thing that I will say about this time period is that this is the fog of monetary war. You're going to hear a lot of BS that's going to come out of the woodwork, especially on social media, a lot of it by AI bots and whatever. A lot of it is going to be nonsense. Some of it's going to be true, but we're not going to be able to tell which of the nonsense is true and which is the nonsense is false because it's all nonsense. Because even the stuff that's going to be true eventually, or that's going to be proven to be true, it's just a whole bunch of wild stabs in the dark at this point, and nobody knows what the hell's going on. So take everything with a grain of silver. Be careful out there and know that silver has done this before. And when it has done this before, it's always crashed. And the chances that it will again are pretty high. Crash to what? I don't know. But QE is still not in full swing. We're not quite yet in a monetary panic, and the Fed has not pushed the pedal to the metal as of this video. There are some signs that I'm seeing that I'm talking about the Endgame Investor on Substack that things are getting very unstable and silver could go anywhere in the next few days, down to 50, up to 90. It's really impossible to know. So stay humble and stay resilient. Until we are in the final printing round, full speed, meaning cut rates to zero and bailing out the banks directly, silver could do anything. So now is not the time to play leverage. Now is the time to get out of leverage, which is what I'm doing. And for more on that, check out the Endgame Investor on Substack. Link in the description below. Get your gold and silver at Miles Franklin. There's still time to do that, though time is running ever shorter. Check the link in the description below, call the number, and mention the Endgame Investor. And get your gold and silver and put some of it in a dirty man's safe, because once this thing blows, power is probably going to go out, and all of the gold and silver they have vaulted away will probably be safe, but you won't have immediate access to it. So for some immediate access to some money, you'll probably need a dirty man safe, because safes are really worthless. Traditional safes, if they're not hidden, because all people have to do is steal the safe and then figure out how to open it later. But anyway, let's get to the slides. And these are more fundamental rather than what's going to happen in the next few days. What is going to happen by the end game, which is fast approaching. And yes, I do think it will happen in 2026. So what do we got here? First chart. This is kind of interesting. I don't think I've shown this one before, maybe once. That is the Bitcoin to silver ratio. It has hit a major trend line that's been in place since 2019. You can see here the bottom in 2019 versus silver at around 200 ounces. And then we kind of creep up higher and higher into 2020 and 2021. Then there's the explosion over here. And we're back down to the crypto winter trend line here, about 850, 650 ounces, whatever it is. And look, we have tagged it again. I reluctantly expect Bitcoin to bounce a little bit here versus silver. We'll see if that's because silver goes down or Bitcoin goes up, or a little combination of the two. But Bitcoin isn't really a thing. It doesn't really exist. It's just a combination of fantasies guarded by a code to a safe that doesn't have anything in it, but the next fantasy of the next miner, or whatever you want to call them. Once this trend line flatlines, that'll be the end of Bitcoin. We haven't gotten there quite yet, but we are headed there pretty quickly. But where were we at? About 3650 ounces of silver. Now we're down to about 1100. So that is 66% decline versus silver since 2024. That's not very monetary, is it? But anyway, similar magnitude to 2011 silver rally versus gold. One of the reasons that I would grow cautious here, and we could see silver do anything over the next few days, these two lines over here are an equal sign. See, I did it myself with paint. I'm an artist. That's what they call me. We have here the gold to silver ratio. You can see that this rectangle is the same length as this rectangle, right? I drew them myself, so I know. And we have here the similar magnitude in the silver rally from 2008, right? The end of 2008. That's when we last saw silver over here at about 85. That was the 2008 financial crisis, the worst of it over here. And then down into 2011 when we hit about 30 to 1 ratio. So from the peak of the financial crisis, September 2008, to May 2011. What was that? Like 2.5 years. So silver, the gold to silver ratio went from 85, a high of 85, to a low of 30. That's a move of 55, right? 30 plus 55 is 85. We have here a very similar magnitude. The gold to silver ratio is now at about 60. It was at a high of 105, so that's a move of 45 as opposed to a move of 55. So not exactly equal. I was wrong about the equality. It's not equal. I was lying. Oh well. But it's a similar magnitude. So we got to be careful. And we've broken the resistance here at about 63, 62, whatever that is. Just be careful here. Don't expect silver to keep exploding day after day after day. There's going to be some shakeouts. They're going to be extreme. Be careful, be conscious, and don't listen to everything that you hear on social media. Now, given that the gold to silver ratio is starting to a bit normalize, the silver to stocks ratio is not even close to that. We're still at 0.011 here of the silver to S&P 500 ratio. We are nowhere near where we were in 2011, which was about 0.04, let's just estimate. So we have about a 4 times rally. If silver quadrupled here relative to the S&P, whether that's because the S&P gets cut by 75% or silver quadruples or some combination, we still have a long way to go in terms of the purchasing power of silver. $80 is really not much compared to what stocks have been doing since 2011. It's not even close. And here is the most shocking chart you'll see. Remember that 2011 huge bump to 0.04? That was this tiny little thing over here. But compared to 1980, we're still nowhere near anything of where silver was relative to stocks, the purchasing power of silver relative to stocks in 1980, nothing. You can barely see this little uptick over here where we are now. So yeah, in terms of endgame moves, there's a long way to go here. Don't even think that the rally is done yet. It could get wild here, so I would stay out of leverage instead of options instead of leveraged funds. But still, in terms of the longer term, in the longer term, I would only define as like a year or two from now, because like after that, the dollar's going to be dead anyway. So over that time frame, silver's going to go way up here, and just be ready for that, but be ready for some crazy action now. The London silver spot premium returns. Remember when we were in the what people were calling backwardation in silver, what I was calling a premium in London spot over New York futures, which is not exactly backwardation, because backwardation would be New York silver now more expensive than New York silver later, which is not the case here. But this does show a backwardation of sorts, even though I wouldn't call it technically backwardation. We're back to a $2 premium of London spot silver over New York futures. So that did portend or predict a move to 50 back here. Look at this tiny little move to 50. It's like a little baby move to 50. But here now we're at 80, and I think we're at 75. It's going to get crazy. It's already crazy. So it's now that we're back to this London premium, London is showing another shortage. They're going to have to get another influx of silver, probably from New York, and that is probably going to drive prices even higher. Uh, with volatility, yes. So platinum, check out platinum, which of course means little silver. I was talking about this. I've been talking about this on a few silver reports now and then of the mother of all triangles in platinum. Well, that triangle just broke out in a big, big way. We have here the triangle going all the way back to 2004, hit the bottom in 2008 financial crisis. After seeing this, this was showing like an inflationary crisis in early 2008. So we could be seeing that over here. That's probably what this is. It's the beginning of an inflationary crisis, which will cause a hyper deflationary crash, which will cause the Fed to panic and print a whole bunch of trillions of blah blah blahs, and then we'll see the end game. I mean the end game. It'll be it. That'll be it. But this huge triangle has been narrowing down until the beginning of this year or the middle of this year even. And this breakout is the mother of all triangle breakouts. I've never seen anything this extreme, but it does not surprise me. I have been saying that if you want a little bit of platinum, it's been a good time to get over the last few years, last few months especially. The platinum to silver ratio is still actually pretty low. I think it's like 35 now, still historically low, but it was down to like 26 or something. So, platinum, I only have a few ounces. You can get a few ounces to save some room if you want. It's a very volatile metal. Anyway, compared to stocks, though, if we look at platinum versus stocks, it's similar to looking at silver versus stocks versus silver to gold or the silver price itself. This is the platinum rally versus stocks. Okay, you can see there's a quite respectable candle here, but compared to where platinum was in 2011, 2008, 2011, and historically, this is nothing.
Nothing! Absolutely nothing!
Platinum still has a long way to go versus stocks, meaning it's stocks, mainstream stocks that have really gone crazy the last few years, the last few decades even. The metals, what they're doing now is just the beginning of the catch-up phase, just the beginning. Now, this is notable. U.S. housing prices, the average price, house price has fallen below 100 ounces for the first time since 1979. In 1980, we hit a low of 70. In a true hyperinflationary endgame scenario, I envision the average house price will be somewhere between 5 and 10 ounces of gold. That's what I'm waiting for. We're at 95 now. Yeah, the housing prices have been crashing since 2022. It looks like, yeah, mid 2022 they've crashed from just under 300 to now 95 ounces. That's about a 66% decline in housing prices in terms of real money. Wait until the end game to buy a house if you can, and you can get a whole bunch of real estate for very cheap, just like Weimar, where you could get a house for a $100 bill, about 5 ounces of silver at a 15-to-1 ratio. That's about 75 ounces. Sorry, it's 5 ounces of gold. Excuse me. That's about 75 ounces of silver at a 15-to-1 ratio. I don't expect that to hold up very long, but I do think it will be a flash in the pan and it will happen. Anyway, if I left you with nothing today other than be cautious, that's what you should take home here. Be careful. Don't trust all these social media rumors and know that there is some stuff going on in China specifically about silver funds there, where some funds have shut down because investors are backing up the truck on silver funds and the fund managers can't accommodate all the investments, so they're actually shutting down, which is, I see, a warning sign. And COMEX has actually pushed up margin requirements. We'll see what that does for silver futures this week, and we'll see if they keep doing it. This is not a very big raise. I talk about that also on the Endgame Investor on the Substack. But anyway, I'll see you guys maybe tomorrow, depending on what silver does, maybe in 2 days, maybe in three. Who knows? Maybe this will be my last video because the Endgame is coming, though I don't think that's true. But I have nothing else to say, so bye.
Well, there's something you don't see every day.
I'm terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought.